So Ned2 begins with his guardsman Alan waking him before dawn so he can go out riding with Robert. And we find that the wheelhouse that Cersei is travelling in is slowing down their journey time drastically, and while they are riding they bond over their past, and Robert mentions that one time Ned had a woman named Wyla who he never told him what she looked like. However, this is supposedly the woman that he dishonoured himself with when he was married to Catelyn. He even notes that he dishonoured himself in the eyes of gods and men, making Robert mock the name of Baelor the Blessed, considering Ned far too pious, considering he himself is a massive womanizer. Now, given that Ned is very clearly lying to Robert here, it makes sense that it is indeed Lyanna who is Jon's mother. The promise that he made to her was to make sure that Robert never found out, so Wyla is a lie told to Robert in order to keep him off the scent. As we know from Catelyn's perspective, there's never any mention of Wyla, so Wyla is clearly an invention for the sake of Robert. Now we see that the progress south has reached what appears to be the Barrowlands, as there are multiple barrows in the area surrounding them, and so the host has yet to actually exit the north. We are not given any indication here as to when exactly in the timeline this falls, as we have no idea how long they've been travelling since leaving Winterfell, although Tyrion's previous chapter did imply that if that comes before this, it has been at least 3 weeks. In any case, it appears to have been long enough that they have received word from the south, as Varys from King's Landing has sent word that Daenerys has married Khal Drogo, which shows us just how long it sometimes takes to send messages in this world, as we know that this happened several months ago at this point, and that's them just finding out now. Unless, of course, Varys has been withholding this information deliberately, as Varys and Illyrio are in cahoots and therefore are plotting regarding Dany and Drogo. We also learn that the message itself appears to have came from Jorah Mormont, who 5 years ago fled into exile because he sold poachers to Tyroshi slavers and managed to escape the north before Ned reached Bear Island to deal justice to him. Robert has a burning passion to wipe out any Targaryen that he can get his hands on, and for some reason the past 50 years has not pursued Viserys and Daenerys by his own admission, despite Viserys thinking contrary to the fact. And now that he has word that Daenerys is wed, he has apprehensions that she is now going to breed and create rivals in future to challenge his kingdom. This causes Ned to have flashback memories of what occurred back during the rebellion with regards to the killing of children. During the siege of King's Landing, Tywin Lannister offered Rhaegar's wife and kids' bodies to Robert during the siege, and Robert, despite Ned's pleading that they were only children and did not deserve such a fate, clearly has no remorse and states that they were dragon spawn. This causes Ned to fall out with him, as not even Jon Arryn can calm Robert's rage, and so that day Ned leaves to go south and continues on the war. And it is only upon Lyanna's death that they are reconciled, implying that Lyanna's death happens after the siege of King's Landing. And we also get more details from them, including the fact that Ned's brother and father were killed by the Mad King, and also that Lyanna was supposedly, in Robert's view, unconsensually made love to by Rhaegar. But as we've seen from Viserys' point of view in the Dany chapters, he loved her. So there is clearly a debate over which opinion is the actual fact. We also learn that the War of the Rebellion lasted about a year, and Ned came to the city of King's Landing to find it in Lannister hands already. We also discover that Jaime Lannister was only 17 at the time when he killed Aerys, and so Jaime and Cersei therefore both were 17 at the time, and from that we can deduce their age in the present. It is also revealed to us that Robert has supposedly promised the Eyrie to Jaime Lannister, showing just how far the Lannisters' influence is spreading, as Cersei wanted him previously to be Hand of the King, and now they want him as Warden of the East. And this gives Ned pause as he remembers during the sack of King's Landing that Jaime Lannister, after slaying the king, sat in his throne, which, when you watch the show, seems to be kind of like a, oh yeah, it's a chair, but when you realise that in the books this is a massive, tall chair with many steps to get to the seat, so he took the effort after killing the Mad King to climb up and sit in that chair. And Ned sees this as the Lannisters over-grasping and potentially wanting to rule the realm. And Robert is clearly allowing these advances due to his fear of a potential Targaryen Dothraki invasion, as he even considers the fact that many of his own subjects fought in the war for the Targaryens 15 years ago, and so may be secretly plotting against him. And Ned is forced to shoot this down by pointing out that the Dothraki do not cross the ocean. They hate and fear the sea for whatever reason. And so we see that the course of this conversation clearly changes Ned's opinion of how Robert would take the news of why he is truly going to King's Landing, as he is trying to warn him of the Lannisters already being somewhat of a threat, and yet Robert keeps brushing it off.